Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I want to state the Lucasfilm Star Wars problem in different terms. From a cultural perspective, Disney Lucasfilm is downgrading Star Wars from mythology to simple stories. Let me define these terms before I go on. Stories have a main character or characters, a clear arc, stakes, consequences. Obviously, Star Wars has always been a story. All mythologies start that way. But not all stories count as mythology. We might use the word in passing, talking about the mythology of these characters or the story's universe, but mythology with a capital M is something more. Historically, mythologies have been a culture's religion. But in the United States and many other Western cultures, we no longer have one unifying religion to bind us together culturally with values and aspirations on a societal level. Instead, we use fiction. To be a mythology, a fiction must represent a culture's worldview, beliefs, aspirations, and fears, and most importantly, it must resonate across generations. The original Star Wars trilogy met the criteria for a mythology in a glorious fashion. The journey of Luke Skywalker, the swagger of Han Solo, the fate of the galaxy and more found a place in people's hearts, people of differing opinions, politics, and situations in life. And that resonance remained long after the trilogy was completed. The characters and stories were a cultural commonplace through the toys, books and comics, and word of mouth. The toys served as touchstones. People require touchstones for mythology. Religions throughout history have utilized statuary, paintings, medals, prayer cards, etc., to help people maintain a connection to the abstract concept of their beliefs. I'm Catholic myself, and I have a rosary right here. Star Wars fans needed action figures, ships, replicas, and toy lightsabers, and they bought them as soon as they hit the shelves for the duration of the original trilogy. But people didn't just need toys that represented the characters they identified with and learned from. They needed more stories. People speculated about the fates of the characters and other aspects of the universe. They wrote fan fiction, and then in the 90s, when it was clear that George Lucas had no intention of returning to the property, the expanded universe began in Star Wars books, carried over from and continued in comics as well. The mythology even made its way into our language. Phrases like Jedi mind tricks and Luke, I am your father made their way onto TV shows and everyday conversation. The Force is strong with this one. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Scruffy looking nerf herder, and so on. You didn't have to be an adult or to have seen the films in the theater to understand those references either. Children still watched the original trilogy, whether their parents were fans or not. When the prequels came out, few had to wonder who these characters were or what universe those films took place in. The original trilogy operated as a solid cultural mythology. Now let's examine the Disney Star Wars films. The focus of the Disney films has been to sever ties with the Skywalker saga, to introduce new characters and tell new types of stories. But are people clamoring for touchstones to this new universe of characters? Not according to toy sales and the giant reduced-priced bargain bins. Are people clamoring for more stories about these new characters? The expanded universe book fans were outraged at Disney's discontinuation of the line. Calls to boycott titles from Disney continuity authors have triggered hateful and embittered attacks of the fans on Twitter. Chuck Wendig and Paul S. Kemp are only the latest in a long line of Disney Star Wars storytellers to spew venom at their fanbase. And while fans of the new film may engage in speculation or even fan fiction, the movement is nothing like the one for the original trilogy. Disney Lucasfilm's treatment of the franchise even killed the public's interest in their stories of pre-established characters. See the Solo box office results. And if you honestly think Tico, a Star Wars story, would have sold better than Solo, then I can't reason with you. This brings us to the final question then. Is Disney carrying the cultural interest of Star Wars into new generations? Well, ask 10 random millennials on the street what they know about Luke Skywalker, and then you tell me. Young people do not know the character anymore, or the resonance of his story. Skywalker's hero's journey used to be the most basic, universally recognized example when teaching Joseph Campbell's monomyth. But now I draw blank stares from my classes when I ask who has seen the original Star Wars movies. And only 2 or 3 out of any class knows the name from grumpy old Luke and The Last Jedi. To be fair, much of this deterioration of cross-generational appeal is the fault of the prequels. But young and old still flocked to the theater for Force Awakens. They were eager for more Star Wars stories. After a few short years, Disney's handling of the universe has dealt a severe blow to that public desire and recognition. Star Wars is fast fading into the mythology of past generations. Ignorantly, that's what Lucasfilm seems to want. Go watch your original trilogy, they tell us, usually calling us man-babies, incels, or other such professional epithets, ill-fitting those who represent the Disney brand. We're doing something new, they say. Well, the new thing they're doing isn't resonating. The public has had their expectations subverted and doesn't care anymore. At least nowhere near the level they did for the original trilogy and its characters. Let me wrap this all up with an illustration. The 2002 film Reign of Fire features a remnant of humans trying to survive a post-apocalyptic future, terrorized by dragons. They have no electricity and live underground for protection. In the evening, then, for entertainment, the adults tell and act out stories for the children. One scene opens with them reenacting Luke and Vader's fabled fight at the end of The Empire Strikes Back. The children watch with rapt attention and burst forth with eager questions afterward. Can you honestly imagine the same scenario with the story of Rey? The riveting story of a girl driven to find out the truth of her parents, and they were just a couple of drunks who sold her. Or maybe the story of Finn and Rose. In the desperate struggle against the New Order, Finn and Rose take a break to go save animals from evil capitalists. Then Rose forcibly stops Finn from saving the rebellion because they want to fight for what they love, not against what they hate. They let other people do all of that hard and necessary work. These stories are not built to last. Ironically, they seek so hard to preach a message that they are unable to resonate the message, like the original trilogy did, which only sought to tell a story. If Disney Lucasfilms continues this approach, Star Wars will no longer be a contemporary mythology. Just place it on the shelf next to Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. We can turn the tide, though, by continuing to refuse our support for this myopic, deconstructionist nihilism. But perhaps we'll cover more on that in another video. For right now, though, I'd like to know what the original Star Wars trilogy has meant to you. How have these characters shaped your life and philosophies? Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, where I will be posting some polls to determine upcoming videos. Until then, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.